Hey, it's Lucy, and though I can barely believe it, I am now a second-year PhD student. Exactly 1 year ago, my parents welcomed me lug my suitcase to the top floor of my accommodation, and I was upset over the cupboard size of my shared kitchen, and I was being sociable with classmates I now never see, and I had no idea what I was going to spend the next year doing. Over the last year, I have literally made my own minerals. I've gone from just knowing I want to study Mars to beginning a project that estimates the flux of hydrogen from ancient Martian lakes. I've been into schools and talked about space to 10-year-olds, even though I don't particularly like children or public speaking. I have my own space in the labs. The other day, I non-sarcastically referred to myself as a chemist. The other week, my supervisor high-fived me. These are each unimaginable little accomplishments that I could never have dreamed of last year, because I felt so useless and helpless when I first started. To a lesser extent, I still do now. There is just no way to properly prepare for starting a PhD. You can read papers in your area and watch vlogs from people at your university and get lunch with your supervisor. But when it's that first day and you're there saying your name and where you're from and what you're studying over and over again, it's just like Freshers Week again, but there's no one there to tell you what to do. Looking back after a year, there are a whole load of things that I really wish I hadn't worried about, and then a fair few things that I wish I had known about. So here's just a few of them for people who are starting their PhDs right now. Number 1, you won't know what you're doing for the first few months, and that's absolutely okay. I have spoken to professors who say they still remember with horror the bareness of their desk in those first few months. My advice here is to read as much as you can. Knowledge is power, after all, and by compiling a few key papers to your project, that will make you feel much less helpless. But honestly, don't be afraid to approach your supervisor and ask for help or some pointers. This is the whole point of them, after all. They're not going to think, why did I hire this idiot? They might just give you a little project to tide you over and help you find your feet. This leads to my number 2. Don't be afraid to tell your supervisor you're struggling, because they are the one person above everyone else who needs to know. My supervisor is a really great guy. He's really nice, really helpful, but he's also an amazing researcher, and that means I'm kind of terrified of messing up in front of him. But you just need to get over this. There's no way around it. Leading into this is number 3. There's no such thing as a question too many, and asking is the quickest way of knowing. I'm always asking my lab mates, what are you doing with that nitric acid? Why are those beakers tinfoil wrapped? And I've learned so much more than checking out doorstopper textbooks. Ask postdocs or other PhD students rather than senior academics, because they're more likely to make time for you and they'll remember the struggle themselves. Number 4, you will get imposter syndrome. I'll link my video to this in the box thingy below, but this is something I really struggled with at first. You've earned your PhD position as much as any of them. End of conversation. My final bit of advice is one I got from my boyfriend, Tim, who's about to enter his 3rd year. Don't forget why you're doing a PhD. This sounds like it's obvious, but it's so easy to forget on that rainy 1000th Wednesday when everything's going wrong and you've still got no data and you're feeling swamped and disheartened and useless. So holding on to the reasons of why you started in the first place is one great way to tide you over until things look up again. Tim's advice on this is to do outreach, because when you see for the first time people getting excited over what you do, it can remind you of why you're doing it and why you were excited. I find reading popular science books in my subject area really helps me get excited again. Like, anytime I'm disheartened, if I read Carl Sagan over my lunch hour, it's like, oh my gosh, humans are going to Mars! My research is important, let's do this! To everyone watching this who's starting their PhD this year, I wish you the very best of time. To everyone who's a year or more in like me, please comment with any extra advice you'd give to new starters. Until next time, take care, and thank you for watching the PH Diaries. Onwards and upwards to the next 3 years.